Alright, welcome back everyone to the second half of the Fear the Masses data pack review. Joining me once again is the masterful deck builder, James, also known as Frost Duty. Hi James!
Hello, hello. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. So
Alright,
looking
yes.
forward to this one.
For those of you who don't know, James is a very skilled person when it comes to building and playing Corp decks. So this is where his expertise will really come into play. So let's start off with a deceptively not so good card.
A deceptively bad card. Oh, I wanted to love this. I really did. I saw it. When I first looked at it, I was like, wow, that looks really good. And then the more people like you and Kester talk sense into me, the more I realized it's not very good. And
And
that's quite
it's
sad.
yeah, it's a pity because I love the flavor. A magnet that draws in all the programs, boom, and now they're invalidated. It's so cool, and I love that they actually thought of this. But when it came to the execution, nah, no
Yeah,
dice.
it's very meh. I mean, you have to get it rezzed at the right time. And that's to, I mean, obviously the only thing this is for is Parasite.
Yeah,
Or I mean, maybe it can grab some of the weird AI breakers, like it can grab a knight, I suppose. Can it grab a knight?
it's just Parasite and the Kaiser, and who plays Kaiser?
Yeah, I mean, so Kaiser, yeah, that's pointless. So Parasite. So for a start, you've got a card that counts as a single card. That's problematic to begin with. As much as we hate Parasite, like its utility is too specific to one thing. Um, so that's bad. Firstly,
Yep.
um,
I mean, even though Parasite is pretty ubiquitous, not gonna lie.
ubiquitous. Well done.
Sorry, it's late. It's late.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
So then you have to get the magnet rezzed at the right time, which means they have to run on the server that it's on whilst the parasite is
Installed.
is installed and still ticking on another piece of ice somewhere on the board. So that's quite a list of conditions because it's very easy for a runner to just not run on that server, and so it never gets rezzed at the right time.
That almost sounds like a four
Um,
card janky combo that you're trying
So
to pull
yeah,
off.
exactly. It's kind of like one of those things where you cross your fingers, like, ooh, in the ultimate best situation. And then when you res it, so you do the parasite pops onto it, and then its text disappears. That's kind of cool. We like this.
Mm-hmm.
A question. Well, I mean, so then and then a couple of problems arise. The first is they can install a new program and just trash the parasite,
Yep.
and so they accept the loss of a parasite.
Yes.
So all it's really done is cost them a parasite for a
Yep.
bit. They can still knife fork spoon you to just kill the magnet, and then all the
Yeah.
parasites are freed from it anyway. But I think that's the biggest problem, really. It would be great if somehow it did a thing where the program was stuck on it and couldn't come off until the magnet had been destroyed.
Ooh, that is punishing. Yeah, I
Like
love
that would
that.
be great if you couldn't install over the parasite, so it was just locked onto the magnet. And that was my problem when I first read the card. That's kind of what I thought it did. And so I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool because when it works, it's just gonna nab a parasite and hold it there forever, and they can't get their parasite back. And then you, I think, pointed out to me, you were like, but they just install over it, and I went, oh yeah, oh. And then I was sad because it made the card go from something that's quite cool to something that's kind of a bit pants.
Yeah,
Um,
that's not a magnet anymore, unfortunately. That's a
no,
black hole.
yeah. So, and as a code gate in itself, it's not particularly good. I mean,
Um,
it's a single end the run, strength 3 for 3 to res.
that is the saving po- that's a saving grace actually because 343 with one subroutine is actually on par with the neutral ice. Like
I
you think of
suppose on par with things like Enigma.
wall of static for barriers. Yeah, it's on
That's
par.
true. That is true. I mean, it's an average. But the problem is that HB is the home of ice that's better than par.
Ah, yeah, you're
Like
right about that.
HB has so much ice that's worth playing because they're the only ones in the game that actually have some semi-reasonable ice.
That is true. You can buy a Victor 1.0 with one more subroutine.
So
You can buy an IQ with variable strength. You have
yeah,
a lot
so
more options.
it's just a bit unfortunate because I like the idea. I think the idea is another one of those things where I like the design space and I think it's a super cool idea. I just think that in some ways I might have preferred something that was a bit more expensive and a bit better.
Yep.
Something that had a bit of teeth to it. Because as it stands, it's a kind of hard to position counter that all it does is cost them one parasite for a turn or two until they install something else,
Mhm.
and that's just not really worth a deck slot.
Nope. I
Um,
mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've been to. I mean, Fear the Masses has been out for a couple weeks now. I've been to Tuesday night meetups, or online weekly night meetups at night, and I've been asking people, "You're playing Magnet. Have you ever managed to attract a parasite with it?" And the answer was all nope, nope.
nope. I live in hope, but nope. Yeah, so sadly, it's one of those things that like looked cool, but kind of in reality falls a bit flat, which is kind of a shame.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, for
but
those of you who still really want Magnet to work, just think of it this way: a lot of good players will just instant tutor their parasite and immediately use Data Sucker on it. You won't have a window to rest Magnet, even if you're playing Executive Bootcamp, Surat City Grid, or whatever jank have you. It's not
yeah,
happening.
it's just not good enough, really. I like that they're trying to make cards that counter Parasite, because goddamn Parasite.
Goddamn, indeed.
But
Even on the most wanted list.
this is not it.
This is not it.
Um,
This is what Shakana is to Fast Advance. Nice try. No cigar.
but yeah, no cigar. Oh well. Next.
This one has cigars and
Oh,
rubber
I love this card.
duckies.
I love this card, man. The artwork is amazing. There are rubber duckies. I love that. But yeah, it's a good card. It's a good card.
It
Like,
is.
and you're playing this out of BTF because,
Because
hey,
ETF.
and you play it out of BTF, and it's a better beanstalk.
Mhm.
In almost every respect. I mean, it synergizes brilliantly with ETF. It's amazing for fast advanced biotics because now you biotic. Previously, with ETF you biotic for 6 credits. Now you biotic for 4.
That's pretty insane.
Is it 4 or yeah, it is 4.
Yeah, you
So
lose. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So now you biotic for 4, and that's brutal because that really screws with some runner math.
Although
Like run.
it must be mentioned that you no, you're right, you're right. Yeah, you can play lateral growth first and then the biotic. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
So you lateral growth and then you biotic and then you triple advance and that's cool. We like
And
this.
God help you if the Corp is running shipment from Sansan. They can now do it from 2 credits.
Yeah. So and it's just a solid thing to have in your deck anyway because when you will play it whenever it turns up. It's always worth playing pretty much if you're playing HB because you normally have a lot of ice, a lot of things you want to install. Yeah, it's a great card. Just solid, nice piece of econ operation. Saves you a click potentially because you gain some cash and you get an install. Yeah, what's not to like about this card? It's not overpowered, which is nice. It's not underpowered. It just feels very solid. Like it's the kind of it will see play
Yeah,
definitely.
it feels like it's sitting right nicely on the power curve.
Yeah, it's like you want if you want some more econ that's ops based and isn't hedge fund or restructure. If you want this and hedge fund would be great if you're playing a deck that you don't want to be running restructures because you're not planning on stacking too much cash.
I mean, it's tough to compare because there's green level clearance, which kind of does the same thing, but it's faster,
Yeah,
less
obviously this can
glaciary.
this can synergize with fast advance, which green level can't because it takes 2. Well, sorry, no, sorry, green level, not blue level. My bad. Yeah, I mean it is fairly similar to green level.
It is.
But I feel like it's better. I feel like it's more usable in most situations. Yeah,
Yeah,
again, no, I was correct. No, it synergizes with fast advance really well, and that's a big thing.
hmm
The
and
fact
let's not get started on fast advanced Jeeves by right models.
Yeah, so there's a lot of any kind of deck that's playing Biotics or Sansans, and this is going to be very happy to see it. Yeah, I think it's a really nice little include, and that's a good addition to the card pool, which will see some play but not too much. So what more can you ask for a new card, really? Um,
Yeah, you can't really go wrong when you print a card with money, card draw, or click compression, or
yeah,
a combination of that.
so solid card. I'm sure we'll see it.
Speaking of that, is that a gunner that is trying to gun down the rubber duckies? I can't tell what's happening on the
If
card.
he's trying to go, he's got a rubber ducky on the front of his car,
Yeah,
so
but there's a headless, I mean, a decapitated rubber duck. Oh no, that's not. Okay, I have no idea.
I think trying to work out what's going on in that picture will drive us quite literally insane.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
I, I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to this madness. It's just kind of someone's fever dream when they're ill or have done a lot of random drugs.
well,
Uh,
deciphering it will require quite a bit of lateral thinking. Uh,
Get out.
okay.
Get out. Just no.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh, I've seen this in play. It's so bad.
It
It's so bad.
is.
Why would you ever play this pile of crap? Okay, so this is well. Let's think about this. Okay, so firstly, the text on this agenda helps the runner. Why? What? Why would we ever want it? Secondly, it still has the fundamental massive problem that 5-3 agendas have, which is that you can never afford for the runner to steal 3 points in one access these days. You just no one plays 5-3s because you can't. It's too big a blow. In pretty much every single deck that you may run, like normally means they only have to steal 2 more agendas, and you just can't afford that.
Yeah, the
Um,
only 3 pointers I see play nowadays are defensive ones that protect themselves.
I mean, it may have some small amount of usage in Greenhouse for the surprise quad advance.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's just bad. I mean, I played against it, and what normally happens is that I go for the agenda anyway, because the other problem is that if someone install advances something on you and they're red, normally you're like, it's an Issei, I must go and take it. Because it's an Issei, I don't want to get an Issei counter. And when you get improved protein source, you're like, oh, I get an extra agenda point. Fantastic.
Oh
And,
wait, you get 4
4
credits.
credits. What? This is like Christmas come early. It's so yeah, I mean, I think this is a really bad card. Actually, it's only useful for kind of the occasional bluff where they think the game isn't going to end and then the game ends because you get that extra point. Um, I would not play this. I would not recommend anyone play this. I would. You see the card artwork. That's similar to what I would do with this card. I would incinerate it. I would use it perhaps as some kind of coaster for my protein drink.
I no,
Uh,
I wouldn't. It's pretty repulsive. I wouldn't want that printed on my playmat. No
I
thanks.
mean, I mean, you can't afford to have an agenda ability that only benefits the runner. It's just terrible. I mean,
I
the only agenda that sees play that is more than um, that has a 3 in the amount of points slot is global food because it only counts for 2 for the runner.
and future perfect because well,
I mean,
protects
compare
yourself.
this to like NAPD contract where it costs the runner 4, and yes, you only get 2 points, but they only get 2 as well.
It's a reverse NAPD.
I mean, it doesn't cost you an influence, but you can't afford to give the runner money like that. It's just, and it's scored or stolen as well, which is just insulting.
I mean, I think some people will just say, well, all you have to do is score this as your last gender, 4 points. Surely that's not too hard. But
Yeah, I mean that's the only time it's useful is if you're trying to do the bluff for the last agenda, really, and hope they don't run it because they're like, I'll give them the 2 points.
yeah, but you
Uh,
can't control whether they steal it
no,
from the top of R&D or
absolutely not.
HQ.
Yeah,
So
it's devastating to lose from R&D because you lose 3 points and they gain 4 credits, and it's just awful. So, I mean, I would probably play just a 5-3 over this that actually had text that was good.
exactly, it's in the faction with future perfect.
And
Why
yeah,
wouldn't you?
and I don't play 5-3s anyway unless I am forced to at gunpoint. So yeah, just don't don't put this in your decks. Really, it should come with a health warning.
Wait,
Uh,
weren't you the guy that came up with the government takeover deck with all the 3 pointers?
well, at that point, you reduce the agenda density so much, and also that was prior to things like I've had worse, and it was to do with killing people with punitives. Like, there's no benefit to this. That's the problem. Like, there is no benefit.
The benefit is seeing the smile on your opponent's face as you score it. That's the benefit.
Yeah, don't play it. Next, please, next.
This is something you should play.
Voter Intimidation. I quite like Voter Intimidation. I think it's the problem. I think is it's going to be difficult to find slots for it.
Yep.
Because it hasn't got an immediate like bam. This is, but I think it's well placed in the current meta. We like trashing resources without having to tag people. There's a lot of resource decks out there. It's going to be worth using. Definitely.
I think this is doubly useful in the faction that is placed in Jinteki. I mean, I don't like the fact that it is in Jinteki because it's not really their part of their faction pie to trash resources. It's more of NBN's thing and Wayland to an extent. But on the same token, they really needed something like this because Film Critic has been hosing Future Perfect decks for quite a while and Fetal AIs as well. being able to kill a film critic is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. You do want to be able to get rid of film critics. You just. I mean, the thing is, there's so many. You know, you've got Pitchfork Hades with their Procos. You've got all the Faust decks. Like, there's a lot of resources being played right now.
Yep.
Even Crims are using Katie Jones a lot. And you know, people were playing the occasional snatch and grab in some decks because it was useful for assassinating connections. This is better.
This is just
Um,
better. Yeah.
it's just better. I mean, they have to have scored an agenda, which is perhaps a bit unfortunate.
That's the
But
main downside, really. Yeah.
I think this is a solid card, and it's certainly going to be worth consideration in the current meta. Trashing resources is good right now. It's so hot right now, as they say.
Honestly, if you're playing Future Perfects, there's no reason not to have at least one copy of it. It just feels quite solid, and as you said, so many resource decks nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's a good include right now. It may go out of fashion if the meta changes, but it's cheap. It's cheap. It's easy. You know, if you fail the side game, you're a bit sad, but you know, if you succeed, then you trash a resource for like at most 3 credits with no kind of, apart from they need to have an agenda, like with no negatives, you don't have to tag them. Yeah, it's good. It's just good. So yeah, if trashing resources is your thing, then this is probably one of the best ways to do it. So solid card. I like it. I like it lots.
Yep.
2 influence, probably not going to see it outside of Jinteki. That's okay.
That's fine. Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Let's Brexit our way out of here. Next one. You've played this card before. I haven't really, so I'll have to hand this over to you.
It's
What?
kind of fun. It's nice that it's got 17 influence, because otherwise, why would you play it over NEH? It's the really nice thing is for things like Data Raven, where they have to take a tag, and then you immediately get to see their hand. So even if they then remove the tag, you got to see their hand. That's pretty cool. I don't think it's better than NEH. There it is. There's your problem.
It always is, isn't
NEH
it?
is another, yeah, it always is the problem. NEH is another 4517 ID, and yeah, it's not as good as NEH. So even in tagging decks, you will want to question whether you want NEH more.
I don't know. The time you played it against me, do you really need the draw? You can just play this deck.
Yeah, if you are not playing an asset or upgrade heavy NEH, then yes, yeah, you know, but the thing is, it's more going to be a process of elimination. It's like you play NEH, and if you're not using NEH's ability much because your style of deck is such that you're actually maybe building a server and, you know, relying on like mid seasons or sea sources and whatnot, then at some point you might go, well, I may as well switch to this because the NEH isn't giving me much benefit, and I may as well have them playing with their grip revealed if they get tagged.
Mm.
But on the whole, you probably just want to keep playing NEH. Most of the MBN decks that are being made at the moment are pretty, you know, reasonably asset heavy. Yeah.
So the question really is, can you make good use of this information, the revealing of the grip?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's very important. I mean, it could be good for kill, for butcher shop style, you know. Oh, I can see their hands, so, you know, I can know if they've got I've had worse.
And you have the bonus of having the extra influence for scorchers.
Yeah, if you have Salem's in as well, then you can knock out things from their hands and then try and scorch them, all that kind of jazz. But problem is, if you're playing Butchery Shopper, you probably want to be playing Harpsichord.
Yep.
Because Harpsichord's ability is really strong if you're playing Butcher Shop style. And if you're playing Asset Spam style, well, you want to be playing NEH. So what gets left for use in this? And I feel like it's just going to be decks that want 17 influence, but none of the above.
Yeah, and that's quite hard to find, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, it's no good for Fast Advance, because you don't really tag them very much. So Fast Advance was also use NEH.
Rush decks maybe, because...
Maybe some kind of rush, maybe something that's very heavy on tagging and tag punishment that isn't kill.
Which is quite hard, right? If you are trying to rush, how
It's
do you
quite
tag
hard,
them?
yeah, and yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there could be decks in if the card. It's one of those things where if the card pool changes, it could be quite useful.
Sure.
It's one to watch out for, I think, because it may well end up being that a card comes out that synergizes really well, and everyone goes, "Oh, hang on a minute, that actually works really, really well." Um, yeah, but right now, yeah, it's still suffering from the why don't I just play NEH problem that most things that aren't NEH do.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. It's not. It could be a sleeper. It's definitely not one to discount. It's not a dead ID like the world is yours is,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has potential. Um, I
but
don't
not
know
now.
if right now the potential
Nope.
is particularly realizable, but it might be in the future. Which is okay. Like I say, it's not a dead ID. That's nice. It's not one that you just look and go, "Well, why would I play this?" Like, it's still got 17 influence in NBN. It's not
I,
bad.
I still
Like,
wonder why they print 17 influence IDs in NBA.
because they have to. Because if they don't, people will just not play anything other than NEH.
That's true.
That's kind of the problem. It's like you have to keep printing 17, otherwise, if people look at it and just go, "Well, I'm playing NEH." Like,
Okay, NEH for most wanted list next.
yeah. Next.
God, why? Why? Well, I mean, clearly World's Plaza didn't work. Why waste more cardboard on a dance studio? Eh?
I think this card saddens me because if it was one or two influence, Jinteki would be so happy.
Or HB?
Jinteki would just be like, so you're telling me I can put a snare and an agenda, or like a snare and a June bug? So I install a double Barnes June bug and they run it, and then they hit a June bug and a snare. Like, ooh,
You
you
know they
know,
don't have to access both, right? They can just trash the Rec Studio itself, as expensive as
they
it
might
is.
access both. Okay, Ben, they might access both.
That is actually pretty sweet. I was thinking more of Glacier style decks where you can have an Adonis and an agenda running at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, no, I think it's pretty terrible. Is what I'm going to go with. Like, it's not a very good card in NBN.
No,
Um,
it's in the
uh,
worst faction for
yeah, that's
it.
the thing. It's four influence, and it's not a good. Like, yeah, you're right. HB or Jinteki, hell, maybe even Whaler. Like anyone that wants any kind of Glacia or to do silly buggeries with traps
Yeah,
would consider this at least. I still don't know if they really want it, but they consider it.
they would.
But it's four influence in NBN, so why are you using this card? Like
NBN
what?
has no traps. They don't really construct servers with ice. They don't have asset econ that.
I just don't
Uh,
understand what use this card is in NBN. I really don't. I really can't see any use for it, and
yeah, this
that's
is one of those
not
cards that isn't even gonna leave the binder, as far as I can see.
good.
I mean, even if it were printed in HV or Jinteki, you always have the awkward problem that if you draw the Adonis first, you cannot retroactively host it on a full immersion Rec Studio when you actually find your Rec Studio. But put it NBN, make it worse. Sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really. Again, the idea is fun, I suppose, but the problem is the idea is still quite janky. Even it's kind of like a win. It's another one of those kind of win more cards. It's weird and it's quite amusing, but like realistically, it's not that much use anyway. Even
Yeah.
if you were using it, like it's kind of deck slots dedicated to doing something that's kind of a bit cute and funny.
Yeah. I mean,
And
yeah, it kind of solved. I mean, they did improve on Worlds Plaza. It solves the problem of them just trashing the base asset in the first place. But
yeah,
nope,
yeah,
doesn't
no.
work.
Yeah, and if they're really worried, they will still trash it anyway. Like
Exactly.
if they really think that you're Jinteki and you've got double traps or something on it, then they will just bite the bullet and pay the extra money and then go and run archives to see what they got.
Yep.
Um,
Maybe they'll come up with a better idea next cycle. But for now, this is going in the trash.
yep, another crappy card. Next.
Hmm.
Anything that involves you forfeiting an agenda is pretty much not worth playing, sadly, except for maybe Archer. Forfeiting an agenda is just the game has evolved to the point where you can't afford the tempo loss anymore
Yeah.
in any deck, unless you're playing like unless you've managed to score like three or like two breaking newses, so you don't need one. Like, eh, forfeiting an agenda is just such a horrible cost.
Uh,
Um,
it must be said though that I nearly got locked out of someone playing an Ibrahim Salem once. I was playing an Anarch deck and they named an event and trashed my levy and I had no recursion left.
I
That
mean,
was pretty
I
painful.
like I quite like the card's ability. It's just historically none of these characters have ever seen any play, and I can't see why this one will.
Yeah.
You know, the only big one of these crazy ones with mad effects that saw play was Corporate Town, because like again, you know, trashing resources, unstoppable, quite good in certain metas. Um, yeah, it's like none of these see any play because it's only useful whilst it's sitting in a server protected.
Yep,
And
that's
you're
the biggest
forfeiting
thing.
an agenda for it, so you want to protect it for a while at least. So it needs to stay on for a few turns, which means you need your scoring server to have him sitting in it. Um, it I can't work out what kind of deck he's trying to synergize with. You certainly don't want him in fast advance. Um, like where do you want him? Like what is he really useful
A
for?
grindy deck. Because don't forget, if
I
they
mean,
fail to trash it,
he might work well with the new ID, you know, with the seeing their card their hand the whole time. So then you can just pick things and trash whatever you want at any point.
yeah, that's more for Salem's Hospitality where you actually have to name the card.
Yeah, and also, you know, to get that combo off, you're having to have them permanently tagged and put this guy out and forfeit an agenda to this guy and keep him protected for like more than 2 turns. And it just seems insane to think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, having to defend him is the worst thing. I mean, it's quite strong, don't get me wrong. I mean, the ability to ping one card every turn is
Yeah, it's good,
bioethics good.
they're not going to let you have it.
Nope.
And it's one of those things where if you get it and it sits in a server for a long period of time, then you're winning anyway, and you probably should have just been scoring agendas.
Hmm.
You know, it feels a win more if you're sitting there with that like 4 or 5 turns. Then you should have been scoring agendas in that server.
Yep.
So it's a very win more card because no one has two scoring servers because no one can get that going anymore.
Nope. Not in
Um,
this meta.
So I don't really think he's very good, although I do like his ability. The forfeiting an agenda is just nailing coffin bad. I mean, it's just bad.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you really want a similar effect, just play Salem's Hospitality.
Yeah, exactly. And because you know you're not going to get this to happen for more than a couple of turns anyway, unless you were way ahead. So
In which
yeah,
case, you're probably going to win the game anyway.
yeah. So play Salem's and just you know get that effect as the one or two of, and there you go. So yeah,
Yep, there you go. Alright, so as a Wayland aficionado yourself, you're going to be very happy to hear that we have three new Wayland cards just for you. Let's look at them. We have. Oh, sorry, that was preemptive. But this is kind of a Wayland card as well, is it not?
I don't think it was preemptive at all. I think this is you know this card should be a Wayland card. The fact that it's not Wayland is very sad. Um, you know, it's Wayland needs help for its Glacia because its Glacia sucks. And this, before I played this card, I was very hopeful that this was going to be like the savior of Blue Sun.
Yep.
And then I played it, and it's really very mediocre, which is sad. It's not bad. The fact that you need 2 or 3 copies of it to find it in your Wayland deck for 6 influence is really bad
That is the
because
main
you're
thing.
already really short. So it really should be a Wayland card. Its ability is good, especially when you combo it with something like a Ryan. If they were thinking about Daviding it, you can giggle at them. Um, but you still struggle to score things in your servers, just like you always did. Yes, you make them throw more cards to do it, but they will still get in. Once they get in, they trash it, and it's gone. Um, Occasionally, like you get some hilarious thing where you do that into corporate troubleshooter, into archer, and then giggle. Um, it just feels like setting up the correct server with the correct ice in the correct places, with Navi behind them, without any of it getting trashed, then basing the runner onto running it, and then not getting in to get to it and get to whatever you're basing. Because normally it will be an agenda. So even if they spend a lot, if they get through and steal an agenda, it's still worth it to them. Um, it's very difficult to set up the circumstances where this really shines, unfortunately. Um, it's not a bad card. It just didn't quite have the oomph that I thought it was going to have when I first saw it.
It does. It does do a lot of work for Blue Sun, especially with their archers, their curtain walls, and whatnot. If this were a Wayland card, nerf it a bit. Maybe make it zero trash. Maybe make it 3 or 4 to res. If this were a Wayland card and Blue Sun could spend their 4 or 6 more influence on better ice, this would be really good. I think
I think so. I agree. I really do. I think the six influence you need to put three copies in Wayland hurts so much.
it just
Um,
stifles your deck building all around.
yeah, and your blue sun kind of wants a card like this. It really does. I mean, it can bounce it back up, so it can put it in different places, which is great. It can, yeah, it likes this card, but
They can oversight their curtain walls without worrying about David. It's
yeah,
perfect.
you know, and the problem is that if you're playing against things like Dumblefork, they run your curtain wall, you res it, they go, oh, I can't go through with David. Then they play a knifed, and they just go, yeah, I'll pay the 7-8 cards. It's unfortunate. I don't want to have to, but I kill a curtain wall. You lose 14 credits. I'll probably get through and get your Navi grid now.
The runner
And
still has outs. The runner
yeah,
still has outs.
it makes things more irritating for them, but not by enough that it seems to be able to open the scoring windows that you need it to open to actually win the game.
Yep.
That's what I found. It's like unless you manage to comically bait them into like hitting a Janus with it or something stupid like that.
And that's what they really need an influence for. More Genesis.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't now get the stuff you want to bait into. I mean, Orion is a good one. If they face check an Orion thinking it'd be a curtain wall, you can do some fun with that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's certainly not bad, and it's certainly usable. I'm sure you'll see people with it. It's just not quite as good as I hoped it was going to be.
No, it's not game breaking.
No, it's not game breaking. It's not game changing. Blue Sun still has the basic problems that Blue Sun has. It does mean occasionally you can pull off a thing where you catch them completely by surprise and screw them over. But on the whole, it's just not quite doing the work that I hoped it would do. So
Yeah, a good player will still dominate you most of the time. I'm really hoping that this card will improve later on when we get better Wayland Eyes or something. But for now, well, it's something to watch out for as with everything else. Well, let's look at some real Wayland cards, shall we? Here's one, Zealous Judge. It's actually not too bad. I don't think it's super overpowered or anything. The real problem is it's very hard to actually create a deck that can really abuse this to the fullest. You need something to tag the runner. So basically, it's Argus Security or something like Snare or Data Raven, and then you click compress them to hell. Easier said than done. Not gonna lie.
It's fun because like you can res it if they run through a Data Raven.
And then they have to go trash it.
Because they have to go and trash it because it gives free tags, which is super cool.
Yep.
It's quite fun. It's not a bad card at all. Like, yeah, it's kind of thing like you can C-source them and then be like, right, now I'm going to give you some more tags.
Yeah, but it's actually really hard to make it truly work.
It is, yeah, because again, it's one of the things that requires a confluence of too many circumstances. Like, you need to have Zealous Judge installed, protected, not having been run. You need to have C-Source. You need them to run. You need to be able to tag them with the C-Source.
And if they're not running...
And then give them a couple more tags with that. Then hope they don't clear all those tags. So then they've got a few tags. Then what do? Like, they probably run your Zealous Judge. So you have to protect him. If they get to him, they will probably then remove the tags if they can.
Clear the tags.
And kill him. If they can't get to him, then that's cool because you're probably going to give them a few more tags after that.
But you need to be able to finish them off swiftly, otherwise they'll just dig you too.
Now they're going to tag float, so you gotta So it feels like it needs a lot of things going your way for it to really work. But it's not a bad card. I quite like it.
Mostly because Wayland has no innate tagging mechanism.
Yes, it's so nice that Wayland actually got some ways to tag people. Like, I like this. I really do.
It's a good start.
I think they need something that's probably a little better, but
Yep.
it's a start. Yeah, exactly. It's a good start, and I'm glad it exists, and I hope that it's indicative of their ways of thinking for future Wayland cards.
Yep.
I haven't seen it played yet.
I would like to think there's a deck out there that can make very good use of it. I'm not sure if it exists, but
It was like because Wayland also doesn't have much tag punishment other than kill at the moment, and kill is very weak right now in the meat sense.
yep.
Because you're still only playing Scorches because you still can't play Traffic Accident. Really,
Eh,
you can't rely on this for multiple tags to then play Traffic Accident. I don't think.
Yeah, you're really relying on the judge if you are playing traffic
Yeah.
accidents. It's a bit tough.
Hmm.
And
Interesting though.
yep, it's interesting. You wouldn't splash this in NBN because NBN has more than enough ways to tag people already. So it's really a Wayland card and something they very much needed.
Yeah.
This, however, not something they really needed.
What is this pile of crap?
This is a party. They're popping the champagne. Not too bad. Wouldn't do it in the Netrunner world.
This card is garbage. Don't play it.
I thought it
Well,
might have a home in CI, and I realized that's dumb. No, you
that
don't
is
want to
pretty
do
dumb. Yeah, that's pretty dumb, Ben. Well done. No,
that.
it's like very rarely as the Corp do you want to draw a bunch of cards into HQ anyway, because the next thing that's going to happen is the runner's going to be like, "Ooh, Agentas, let's run there."
The worst thing is
Um,
that you're trashing all the Scotch stuff that you accumulate until that point.
yep,
Why?
you can't have combo cards. Like I don't see why this card exists. Like, why are you going to waste deck slots for this? Really, I mean, it's very Corps don't really want lots of card draw on the whole anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it's bad. Don't play this. It's a waste of your deck slots. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of paper. It shouldn't have been printed. And shame on you, FFG, for giving us more binder fodder.
Look at you. You have just ruined all that champagne with all your salty champagne.
It's salty champagne. You can see the salt in the champagne if you look at it closely enough. Next card, please.
Fine, fine. Next card. It's not getting better. It's
No,
not.
it's not gonna. Okay, this card is also garbage. If you want to, right? So what you're thinking is you're like, "Oh, but I can triple scorch them from hand in one turn." And what I'm saying is that involves you having more money than them having run, and you having a hand that is sea source, triple scorch, and subcontract. So you need a 5 card combo in hand for this to be any good.
All five of your cards. Well, surely
You
that's
need
not too hard.
your entire hand to be perfect in order to do that one thing that is that fun idea you have in your head. Like you need such a massive combo. It's just stupid. Like it's not going to happen. So you're spending deck slots on a card that firstly requires the runner to be tagged in Wayland. Doesn't happen particularly often. And all it does is allow you to. It saves you 1 click to play an operation. That's all it does.
Like you're not gonna play this just because you're gonna gain 1 click of efficiency.
No, no. It's just why would you do that? Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's just bad.
I mean, I wanted to say this might work in CI because you have all the combo pieces in hand, but it's 3 influence and Seesaws cost 2 influence if you want to tag them, and no. Just no.
No, no. I can't see any reason. Like I can't. There's nothing that. It's purely the fact that like. You need to have so many cards in hand for it to make it work. Like C double scorch, you don't need this card for. It's the only thing you need it for is C triple scorch, and that involves a 5 card hand combo, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, no, it's a bad card, and it continues the tradition of FFG just waving their collective dicks all over Wayland and just being like, no, you can't have fun things.
Yeah,
You
they
can be
really just pissed on Wayland this entire cycle, right? I mean,
they pissed on Wayland for so long. Like they pissed on Wayland ever since Order and Chaos came out.
oh man.
Like
What was the best card in that pack again? I mean, that whole.
I mean, I've
Donut
had
cycle?
worse came out to just dick on Wayland kill, and then they gave Wayland a bunch of advanced ice that no one plays because it's terrible. Like, and from there on, Wayland has just been in a rut, and they're still in a rut. Like, I was responsible for making the government takeover, which is at this point still the highest rated Wayland deck on Netrunner DB. And I spent a lot of time trying to make Wayland work, and Wayland kill is dead. It's terrible. Don't try it. You can't do it. It's just fundamentally worse than Butcher Shop, and cards like this are not what we need in order to make Wayland a playable faction. There's no, you're not playing this card. There's no reason to play it. Like,
I
It's
mean,
pointless.
okay, put it this way. There was a Wayland deck that won UK regionals. That's Seamus Modernism, and the best cards in it are Enigma and Vanilla. Neutral cards.
Yeah, like
Well done.
yeah. Next, please. I'm sad just looking at
I
this.
just want to. I mean, I just want to say they really pissed on Wayland. They saved the best for last. They gave you 3 new Wayland cards in the finals
Yeah,
pack, so you'd be all excited for them. And turns out it's piss. I mean,
yeah.
look at this image of election day here. That's
I mean,
piss.
two of these cards are cards that you should just never play, and one of them is not currently got the support to really make it worth playing as it stands. Although it's not a bad card. Uh,
Yeah, look at the piss coming out of champagne. They're just
yeah.
taking the piss.
That is them pissing on you. See that audience in the background of the champagne?
And
That's what
this
they're
is the
doing.
best Wayland card in the pack.
Yeah, the best whaling card in the pack is the MBN card, as it always the way. So
Doesn't
thanks
say.
FFG. Like, can we please have some decent whaling cards at some point?
And they say yes,
Please.
yes, you can have decent cards, Wayland. We are gonna give you a 3-4-2 agenda.
Oh, here we go. Mm.
Here we go.
So merger, I've been merger's been my pet hate for like the last 2 months. Ever since I saw this card and burst out laughing, I still have yet to find a single conceivable reason why you would ever play it. I think that FFG, in my opinion, FFG owe a very large swathe of trees an apology. Like, things that were living died so that they could be cut to pieces, and on their corpses this was printed, and I feel like that is an insult to them. I feel like FFG need to have some kind of amnesty where they let anyone who has a copy of this card send it back to them, and they can like donate them to science, or put them in a giant recycler and like create a fake tree so they can put it there in as a memorial to all those that died so that this could exist. I mean, it is abjectly terrible in every single metric that I can think of. I mean, no one plays 5-3s, but you can't afford to give the runner 3 points if they steal an agenda, which is exactly what this does. And you pay an influence for it. And it doesn't reduce the agenda density in the Corp deck because it only counts as 2 points for you. Do you know what other agendas you pay an influence for? Astroscript. Astroscript is worth paying influence for. This is like they should give me influence for paying this. Okay, you should gain more influence as a corp for having this in your deck. It should be like a reverse most wanted list. Like the most crappy list. They should make the most crap list. And they should put all the terrible cards like Force of Nature and things on that list so that when you put them in your deck, you gain influence as kind of like a sorry that you're forced to play it.
You
And
do
like,
realize that half of Wayland cards will be on there, right?
yeah, absolutely. And this card, like, never play it. Like, burn it. Use it as a coaster. I mean, it is
The art is pretty good. I wouldn't mind it on the
the
deck
art
also.
is pretty good. Like it increases your agenda density. It helps the runner. It's you pay an influence for it. The like other 3-2s are like they're like accelerate better test, which can win you games. They're Astro Skip that can win you games. They're Project Beal, which you can psychographics and give you extra points with. They're Philosophic Entanglement. They're Project Vitruvius,
And
and
at
then
worst, they're just blank 3-2s like Brain Trust.
yeah, and this is just. I mean, it's neutral 3-2. So I suppose that's why they decided it had to be just completely terrible.
So I
Like,
heard that someone at FFG made a dare to someone to say, I bet you can't print a 3-2 that is bad. And guess
man,
what?
they did it. They did it.
They
Like
did
this is like
exactly that.
this is like the reverse global food initiative.
It
In
is.
every way in which global food is good, this is terrible. I mean,
That's like, yep, you
I,
captured it.
you
That's
cannot even consider putting this in your deck. Like seriously, don't even think about it. Like if you're thinking about it, the only thing I can recommend is that you go and you sit down and you talk to another Netrunner player so that they can talk some sense into you. uh, or you go to some kind of anonymous meeting where they help people with psychological.
it.
I mean,
Merger Anonymous.
Mergers Anonymous, yeah. I mean, it's just I've run out of words. Like my vitriol is at an end. I just
Now, would it completely baffle you if I told you that I actually caught Timmy Wong playing with this card on Jinteki.net?
well, it's Timmy Wong. He likes to do things which confuse the rest of the world.
There is one particular ID where you can play this and it is not the worst.
What is that then?
It's a Harmony Met tech deck with all 2 pointers, where even if you steal Merger and another 2 pointer, it still doesn't win them the game. They win on 3 points anyway. I mean, 3 agendas anyway. That is literally the only saving grace, the only reason that you can even begin to conceive including this card in your deck. It's not the worst. That's not saying much. I'm
I
not.
I I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of it. Just stop giving people hope. Okay, Ben.
I'm just
There is
laying it out
in
there.
this case there is no hope. Hope has died. Hope has gone. Like this is it. Like this is the card that ended the cycle. That's very sad. Like that's a tragedy. Like it really is. It's like Shakespearean in its level of tragedy. I feel like FFG, like a lot of people had a lot of problems with this cycle because it's introduced a lot of very divisive cards and a lot of gameplay mechanics people don't like, and maybe the whole cycle is summed up in this card.
Could you do
Why?
me a favor and go on Netrunner DB and check what's the very first card of this cycle? Something tells me it's Ramujan Reliant, that horrible, nasty piece of hardware. But is it?
The first card of Qualigoda,
Yes.
it's Run Amok.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that if it was Ramujan, it really started and ended on a very bad note. But well,
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, I mean, don't play it. Just don't play it. Don't play it. There are other cards that could go in your deck, and it's fine. Just forget it.
sure. So to sum up everything, since this is the last pack of the cycle, what do you think of the cycle?
I think this cycle has been the worst cycle of Netrunner so far. Um, Even the good cards have caused debate that in a way that people haven't liked
Yep.
them. Um, there's been a lot of not very interesting cards, a lot of cards that have pushed styles of the game that people don't like. Very few fixes for problems that weren't like the most wanted list was very divisive. I don't think the most wanted list has succeeded. I think it's kind of a failure. I think that HB was in a really nice place, and the Rise of Dumblefork would have knocked. It would have knocked kind of your Food Coats decks down to a point where Dumblefork versus Food Coats probably would have been a really fun and interesting close match. But Most Wanted list just kicked Food Coats in the nuts. Um, Asset spam is now a thing. No one is happy about this.
No one.
IG is now a thing. No one is happy about this. Hot Tub Time Machine is a thing. No one is happy about this. Um, yeah, it's not been a good cycle, and it's caused a lot of people to quit. And I'm hoping the next cycle will improve.
Well, there's been some silver lining to the cloud. As much as they've printed a lot of horrible cards and a lot of unfun strategies, there were still some pretty fun cards. Polana has been a very good refreshing,
Polana has been great. Polana, I totally agree. Polana was wonderful and a lot of fun and good old fashioned solid netrunner.
and I
Go
also
Polana.
love seeing people trying to come up with new guy stacks. Sure, they all fall to NEH, but it's
But
actually fun seeing
yep,
someone
criminals.
trash like a whole bunch of street peddlers and sports hoppers and say, hey, I
Yeah, I
haven't
mean,
taken my first click yet.
I think the problem with this cycle is that the general way that the game has gone has not been brilliant. But there are plenty of individual spots of goodness in there.
Especially
Um,
for the competitive level, I have to agree that with the rise of all the asset spam, being whole into playing wizard is not fun at all.
yeah, and Wizard's going to rotate out next cycle, so God help us.
Yeah, and for Glacier decks, Ash and Caprice are gonna rotate out.
Yep.
Hope you
God
too.
help us. So we really hope the next cycle, like the next cycle, I think is going to make or break the history of this game because when rotation comes and all those cards that we just said leave, if asset spam is like the only thing left, then and Faust and stuff is the only thing left, people are going to be very unhappy, and rightly so. So this cycle needs to provide, and Jackson's going away, so really God help us, because yeah, noise just comes back and we all die unless you're playing lots of Museum of History. So this cycle really needs to plug the holes of the cards that we're going to lose, especially on the Corp side, or else it's going to be a very different game once rotation comes. And I'm not convinced it's going to be a particularly enjoyable one.
Don't worry, Princess Space Kitty will be coming. Everything will be okay.
So yeah, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. I'm sorry. I can't go. We finished on a real bum note there.
Hey, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it informative, and if you didn't, well, hopefully it was entertaining at the very least. So this has been me and James. Thanks,
Bye
James.
bye. Bye bye,
And
everybody.
yep, see you all next cycle. Goodbye.